There is a part of this I have kept from you until now. You did not expect to hear this today, but I know exactly where you were yesterday evening. You sat in your car for 5 full minutes after you turned the engine off. You stared at the steering wheel. You gathered your breath because you did not want to carry your exhaustion inside the house. My beloved child, I saw you in that quiet car. I see how heavily the weary warrior wears the armor. You think you are simply getting older or losing your edge. That is what the noise of this world wants you to believe. But there is an unbelievable truth about your mind that has been hidden from you, and knowing this truth would completely change how you see yourself. Stay with me for just 3 minutes. I will not ask you for money or give you a false date. If you listen closely, you will finally understand why your mind always feels covered in a thick fog and why simple tasks drain your energy. You will feel the immediate relief of setting down a weight that was never yours to carry. And you will know exactly how to reclaim your sharp focus by tomorrow morning without forcing yourself to work harder or pretending to be fine. The truth I am about to share requires an open heart. If you are listening to me right now, simply say yes in your heart. You do not need to type anything yet. Just agree to hear what I have to say. The fog in your mind is not a medical failure. It is a protective delay, and your mind built it to shield you from a world that demands far too much from you. Let us look at your mornings. You wake up after a full night of sleep, but your jaw is already tight. You stand at the kitchen counter with a warm cup in your hands. You cannot even remember pouring the water. You read the same sentence on your phone 3 times and walk away with nothing, and immediately you blame yourself for being lazy. You are not lazy. You have carried other people through years that they barely survived. A lazy soul does not do that. A failing mind does not hold an entire family together through the hardest seasons. You are carrying the heavy load of everyone around you, and you never ask anyone to hold you up when your own knees feel weak. You answer every call. You solve every crisis. You have told yourself that this is just the cost of loving people. You believe that if you stop moving, everything will fall apart. So you push the exhaustion down. You swallow the tears before they reach your eyes. But a mind that is constantly managing crisis cannot remain sharp because it is too busy scanning the horizon for the next disaster. I am not offended by your exhaustion. I do not look at your forgetfulness and see a failure. I look at it and see a warrior who desperately needs permission to put the shield down. You have been running on empty for so long that empty feels normal, but empty was never my plan for your life. The mental fog is an urgent message. It is time you finally translated it so you can breathe again. You sit in rooms full of people, but you feel entirely alone. You nod and smile when they speak. You give the right answers, but your mind is miles away trying to untangle a mess that no one else can see. You are so tired of being the strong one. You wonder if anyone would notice if you just stopped managing everything for one single day. You know the answer, and it breaks your heart. They would notice the mess, but they would never ask about your pain. Let us look at your memory. You walk into a room and forget why you came in. You hold your phone and stare at the blank screen. You used to be sharp. You used to juggle 10 things without dropping one. Now you struggle to finish a simple task without losing your train of thought, and it terrifies you. You think your mind is permanently broken. You quietly ask me if this is just what happens when people get old. It is not your age, it is not an early decline, and it is certainly not a lack of effort. You have tried so hard to force your brain to work by drinking more coffee and writing longer lists. You push yourself to focus until your head physically aches, but force does not heal a mind that is drowning under the demands of everyone else. Your mind is not failing you because it is weak. It is shutting down because it is overloaded. I am going to tell you exactly what is happening. The human mind was never built to carry the emotional debts of an entire family. When you refuse to drop the burden, your brain steps in to protect you. It creates a thick fog to slow you down. I call this the protective delay. It is not a disease. It is a defense mechanism designed to force a pause when you refuse to take one. Look back at the times you felt most forgetful. They were never quiet days. They were always the days when someone demanded too much from you and you had no strength left to give them. The fog rolled in to shield you from heavy expectations you simply could not meet. Your brain was doing the only thing it could do to save you from a complete collapse. You have been fighting the very thing that kept you alive. I want you to try something different today. When the confusion hits you, do not fight it. Stop what you are doing. Put the glass of water down on the counter. Stand completely still and take one deep breath without trying to solve a single problem. Do not think about tomorrow. Do not plan the next hour. Just breathe. You will feel a tiny shift in your chest. That small shift is the first taste of true clarity. It is the sound of a heavy machine finally powering down after running for years without a break. But this is only the first layer of the truth. The fog is merely a symptom of a much deeper disconnection happening inside you right now. There is a hidden reason you keep taking on these heavy loads even when they crush you. You think you are being perfectly selfless. The reality is something else entirely. I have watched this happen thousands of times. I know exactly how this story goes when a person refuses to put the bags down. They lose their joy first. Then they lose their peace. I will not let you lose either of those things today. We are going to walk through this together until the light returns. I know what rose in your mind just now. You are thinking you have heard this before. You have sat in quiet rooms and listened to calming sounds, hoping that a few moments of silence would cure a lifetime of exhaustion. You tried to meditate every morning, but you kept the routine for 11 days and broke it on the 12th. And your mind stayed exactly as foggy as before. You feel like you failed again. You did not fail. I will not argue with your own history today, because I was standing there with you for every single hour of it. But hear the difference today. What you tried before was just behavior, meaning you were reaching for the branch instead of the root. I am not asking you to try another routine, because I am speaking about the deep mechanism beneath your actions. You were trying to heal a broken system with a polite habit. It is time to look at the system itself. Let me show you a dinner table. You sit there with your family. The food is warm. They are talking and laughing, but you are not really there. Your body is in the chair, but your mind is running far away to chase a list of problems you must solve tomorrow. Someone asks you a question, and you blink and ask them to repeat it. You feel a sudden wave of guilt, and you tell yourself you are a bad parent or a distant partner. You promise to focus more next time, but the next night, the exact same thing happens all over again. You are terrified that you are losing your connection to the people you love. You have a harsh explanation for this. You call it a lack of focus. You believe you are simply distracted and disrespectful to your family, and you think your priorities are entirely selfish. My beloved child, that is a cruel lie. I want that lie out of your mouth today, because a selfish person does not lose sleep over someone else's problems. You are not losing your ability to focus because you no longer care, but because your mind has been violently split into pieces. Here is what the noise of this world has kept hidden from you. I built your mind with two halves meant to work perfectly as one. They were designed to blend your logic and your peace together. but the world demanded too much. The constant pressure forced those two halves to pull apart and work independently, just so you could survive the day. Your logic is fighting fires, while your peace is left starving in the dark. I am going to name this so you can finally understand your pain. This is the great disconnection. It is not a decay of your intellect, but rather a severe separation of your soul. Your mind was never meant to function like a fractured machine. You have spent years thinking this heavy fog was your own fault. I want you to release that blame right now. If these words just reach the lonely place inside you, do not keep quiet. I want you to claim this truth today. Go to the comments and write these exact words. I was not imagining the weight. Write it down so your own eyes can see it. You need to stop apologizing for a mind that is simply trying to carry the world. I read what my children write. Leave your mark there and let the healing begin. Now look back with me at all those dinners and all those conversations. You were not failing your family, you were shielding them. Every time your mind wandered away from the table, it was fighting a war outside the room, so the room could stay peaceful. You thought your sudden absence was a sign of a cold and selfish heart. It was never that. It was a mind stretched so dangerously thin to protect the people you love that it simply broke the connection to survive. You have judged yourself so harshly for so many years. You looked at the fog and called it a character flaw. The fog was never your failure. It was the heavy price of your silent protection. I saw you holding the walls up while your own foundation was shaking. Not one of those quiet sacrifices went unnoticed by heaven. I saw the love behind your exhaustion, even when your own family only saw your distance. I am not asking you to try harder to focus tonight. That is a cruel and useless demand for a broken system. I want you to do one small thing instead. When your mind drifts away from the table again, do not scold yourself. Stop. Notice the loud buzzing in your head, and then say this quietly in your spirit. This noise is not my voice. It is only the sound of a demanding world pulling at me. You must separate yourself from the static. You do not have to fix the entire fracture today. You only need to stop calling the static your own true voice. The moment you stop taking the blame for the noise begins to lose its terrible grip on your days. It loses the power to make you feel unworthy of your own life. Remember the name I just gave you, the Great Disconnection. Now come with me to a morning 6 months from now, when those two halves have been brought back together. It is an ordinary weekday. You wake up, and your feet touch the floor without hesitation. You walk to the kitchen and pour your coffee. The cup feels warm against your palm, and for the first time in a decade, your chest is completely still. You do not brace for disaster. The constant buzzing behind your eyes is simply not there anymore. You do not feel the terrible pull of a mind violently split in two different directions. The heavy fog that made every simple decision feel like wading through deep mud has completely lifted. And the most beautiful change is that the quiet in the room does not frighten you at all. You are finally able to sit in the stillness and just be alive. That clear mind is not a foolish fantasy, my child. That calm version of you already exists. She is not waiting on some magical rescue from the sky. He is not hiding behind a massive mountain of discipline you have to climb. That restored mind is standing right on the other side of one single choice. You only have to stop fighting the disconnection with sheer force and allow the halves to be rejoined. The distance between your heavy fog today and that clear morning is not measured in years. It is measured in permission. You have to give yourself permission to heal the fracture instead of just blindly pushing through the pain. Say it tonight before you sleep. Say out loud that you are ready to be whole again. The morning I just showed you is already walking toward your door. Let us look at another morning. You actually slept for 8 full hours last night. You stayed in bed until the sun came up. But when you finally open your eyes, your body feels like it was hit by a massive wave. You are absolutely exhausted before you even put your feet on the floor. You reach for your phone, and a name lights up on the screen. Your stomach immediately drops. You have a very harsh word for yourself in those dark moments. You call yourself weak. You tell yourself that other people handle their lives just fine, so something inside you must be flawed. You think you are failing at normal life. Hear me clearly today. You are not weak. Your extreme fatigue is real, but your explanation for it is entirely wrong. Here is the hidden truth about your exhaustion. True fatigue does not come from the heavy weight you were meant to carry. It comes directly from the crushing weight you were never assigned to carry. Over the years, you began picking up emotional baggage that belonged to everyone else, and you made it your own personal mission to fix them. You absorbed their anxiety. You managed their endless crises without ever being asked. You took responsibility for the peace of a room that was never yours to keep peaceful. I am going to name this heavy burden right now. This is the borrowed load. Carrying another person's emotional crisis is exactly like trying to hold water in your bare hands. It spills everywhere, it leaves you soaking wet, and you never actually reach the destination. Your mind was designed to process your own life. When you force it to process the trauma and demands of 5 different people, the beautiful system simply overloads. The two halves of your brain pull even further apart. Your logic tries to solve their problems, while your peace is completely destroyed by their daily chaos. The severe disconnection in your mind is not a sign of your failure. It comes from holding heavy burdens I never asked you to pick up. You were meant to be a helper. You were never meant to be a savior. When you constantly try to save everyone around you, you fracture your own mind in the process. We are going to end this painful arrangement today. If you feel the painful truth of these words in your chest, I want you to make a declaration. Go to the comments below and write this exact phrase: "The noise is not my voice." Write it down to separate yourself from the demanding expectations of everyone else. You need to officially resign from the job of fixing every broken thing in your family. I read what my children write. You accepted the exhaustion because you thought it was the noble thing to do. You believed that sacrificing your own mental clarity was the only way to prove your love to them. But a fractured mind cannot truly love anyone well. It can only barely survive, and daily survival is a terrible substitute for the abundant life I actually planned for you. Now look back with me at the years you have called your failing years. You were not failing at all. You were hauling. Every single morning you woke up and picked up heavy bags that belonged to other people, and every night you judged yourself for walking so slowly. You were never lazy, my child. You were heavily loaded. And a loaded soul that keeps walking is not weak because she is deeply faithful. I saw your faithfulness the whole time, while you only saw how far behind you had fallen. You felt guilty for forgetting names and missing appointments. You thought your memory was decaying. It was not decay. Your mind was simply dropping the things that did not matter so you could survive the crushing weight of the things that did. You were protecting your family by carrying the borrowed load. So today I ask something very small of you. Not a grand vow, not a massive life change. I want you to ask one simple question before you pick anything up, whether you are at the kitchen sink or answering a stressful text message. Did heaven hand this specific problem to me? And when the honest answer is no, you must set it down. Set it down without a long speech, and set it down without any apology. Putting down a burden that I never gave you is not a selfish abandonment, because it is pure obedience. I want you to begin with just one thing today. Leave one problem for someone else to solve. Let one minor crisis happen without stepping in to fix it. I hear the silent objection moving through your thoughts right now. You are thinking that this message was meant for someone much younger. You believe you are too old to reclaim your sharp mind. You feel like your best years are already gone, and your brain is too tired to heal. I am not offended by your quiet doubt. I made the beautiful mind that is asking that difficult question. You think that restoration belongs to people whose hands are cleaner and whose minds are less damaged. You have misread who this is entirely for. You believe my healing belongs to the perfectly ready, but it has always belonged to the ones who are completely honest about being broken. Your painful honesty right now is not a wall between you and me. It is the only door there has ever been. Wisdom does not age. The years you spent carrying heavy things did not ruin your capacity for joy, but they simply showed you what is no longer worth carrying. The ones who arrive certain of their own perfection bring me absolutely nothing I can work with. You have brought me the raw truth about your exhaustion. Do you understand how precious that rare honesty is to me? I did not come looking for a finished and flawless warrior. I came looking for you. I have never once been confused about which child I was calling, and I am certainly not confused today. Your mind is not too old to be completely restored. It is just waiting for your permission to finally drop the bags. Breathe out the heavy guilt right now. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. Come back to my voice right now. Wherever your mind went just then, it went there for a reason. You already know the truth about the great disconnection inside your mind. You know it was never your fault. But simply knowing the heavy cause is only the beginning of your healing, and the real breakthrough happens when you finally stop defending the very walls that kept you trapped. You are the one who carried it quietly for years. You are the steady one people call when their world suddenly tilts. You hold them up. You give them your peace. And you have wondered privately whether that silent steadiness counts for anything at all, because nobody ever handed you a formal title for your quiet service. They just keep taking the deep comfort you easily provide. I want to tell you about a woman who sat under a palm tree. She carried the heavy disputes of an entire nation with no official crown on her head. The people came to her because she carried a clarity they could deeply trust. And when the battle finally arrived, the proud commander of the army stubbornly refused to march into the dangerous valley unless she went with him. A grown general admitted his fear in front of everyone. You have carried others for decades with no title to show for it. You think you are invisible. You assume your hidden sacrifices fade into the dark when the sun comes up. That is a cruel lie. Authority is never the exact same thing as a highly public position. Some people are given a fancy seat at the table, while other people simply become the safe place where true clarity is always found. You have been that safe place for your family for a very long time. Do not make yourself smaller just because no one threw a parade for you. Your quiet work is building a solid foundation that will outlast all of them. But you cannot keep pouring pure water from a fragile vessel that is fractured in two. Your mind needs to be entirely whole again before you pour out another precious drop for the people who constantly depend on your strength. Remember the protective delay I named for you earlier today. It shielded you when the demands of your house were simply too heavy to bear. It did its job perfectly. But a thick shield that stays up too long eventually becomes a heavy prison. You are still carrying the heavy armor from a terrible battle that actually ended many years ago, and it is finally time to let the exhausted guard step down from the tower. You are safe now. Something massive is shifting in the atmosphere around you right now. You can feel the static electricity in your chest. This is the exact moment where most people grow afraid of the bright light and run back into the familiar fog. Do not run back. The dark offers a terrible substitute. Stay in the bright clarity you were born to walk in. I am preparing the solid ground for a complete restoration of your tired mind. The broken pieces are already moving back toward the center. Your focus is returning. Your deep peace is rising. I am not just going to comfort you and leave you standing in the cold ruins, because I am about to hand you the exact tool you need to permanently close the gap. Keep your eyes completely open. There is a place in your life you have arrived at more than once, and you have never said it out loud to anyone. The work was almost finished. The door was almost open. The sharp clarity in your mind was finally returning. And then right at the very end, something inside you reached out and knocked the cup over. You suddenly lost focus. You let the heavy fog roll back in. You went quiet for a week and let the opportunity completely die. You picked a small fight over something that did not matter. Afterward, you sat in your car in the dark. You had no words for a person who runs from the exact clarity he has been begging for. You felt deeply ashamed. You wondered why you always sabotage yourself when things start going well, and you promised yourself you would do better next time. But the pattern repeated itself, and you quietly accepted the fog as your permanent reality. You believe you are simply afraid of failing. You have said it so often it has worn a deep groove into your spirit. You tell yourself that your mind is just too broken to sustain any real success. My beloved child, I want you to look at the actual evidence of your own life. You have survived it not working. You survived it more than once, and each time you got up and built again. You are not afraid of the thing collapsing. You have proven you can live through a complete collapse. But you are terrified of what happens when your mind finally stands whole and sharp. Let me show you where that specific fear was born. In the house where you grew up, someone did not rise. Someone set their bright dreams down and never picked them up again, and the family learned to speak of their deep sadness in a lowered voice. And a child watching that learns a tragic law that nobody ever says aloud. The child learns they are not permitted to go higher than the people they love, because to rise would be to leave them far behind. To succeed and be mentally sharp would be to quietly accuse them of their own failures. So, the child builds a thick ceiling out of pure love. They spend 30 years calling that ceiling a mental fog. I name it right now so you can finally see it. This is the loyalty ceiling. You call your mental fog a personal failure, but it is actually a protective delay. You use the heavy exhaustion to keep yourself small, so you do not outgrow your family. It is not cowardice, beloved. It is blind devotion aimed in the completely wrong direction. When you allow your mind to reconnect, your sharpness will return without any forced effort. The fog was never your destiny, it was just your hiding place. You believed that staying confused and exhausted was the only way to prove your deep loyalty to them. You thought your shining light would somehow cast a dark shadow on their lives, but that is a terrible lie from the enemy. Your staying small has never once made them any larger. Your mental fog does not heal their brokenness. It only steals your joy. It is time to stop apologizing for the brilliant mind I gave you. Look again at the ruins you have been deeply ashamed of. You did not break those things out of pure weakness. You were fiercely protecting somebody you love very much. And every time you stopped just short of success, you were saying a silent sentence. You were secretly saying you would not outgrow the people who raised you. That is not a defect in your character, my beloved child. That is a completely loyal heart that was never told the absolute truth. And the truth is that your protective ceiling has cost you everything, but it has given them absolutely nothing. So I want you to release that old debt right now. Your rising takes absolutely nothing away from the people you love. Your brilliant light does not darken their room at all. Hear me where you make your most important decisions. You were never broken, and you were never falling behind. The thing you called your failure has a real name, and the name is preparation. Preparation is exactly what I do to the ones I intend to build a massive legacy with. So, the argument about your worth ends completely today. It does not just soften, but it completely ends. You are not late, and you are not less. You are not the exception to my endless grace. Lift your heavy head and say it with me. I am not late for my own life. You know exactly why the old door kept closing on you. Now come and see what an ordinary evening looks like when you are no longer standing in front of it. Come with me into the season ahead, to a simple morning that arrives without any loud warning. You sit at your desk to do the complicated work that used to terrify you, and here is exactly what I want you to feel. Your stomach does not drop with sudden panic. You open the project and you begin to type in your own confident voice. The loud static behind your tired eyes is simply gone. You do not stop halfway through the page to doubt every single word you just wrote. There is no small clenched animal sitting in your chest, waiting for a disaster. You finish the task easily, and you realize you did not have to force your brain to focus at all. Your mind is sharp and completely still at the exact same time. The terrible disconnection is over, and your mind finally belongs to you again. That peaceful version of you is not a distant fantasy. I will not promise you a sudden flood of wealth or a magically perfect life, but that steady mind is incredibly real. And it does not require your family to change before it can exist. She is standing right on the other side of one thing you are still gripping tightly. You must stop believing that your mental clarity will somehow betray the people you love. Say it quietly in the dark room tonight. I will stop shrinking myself to fit their small room. Say it out loud, and the ceiling loses all its authority over your life. There is one more thing about that clear mind that I have not told you yet. I have been holding it back on purpose because it would have meant absolutely nothing to you an hour ago. It has a mysterious name, and I will call it the last thing I kept. You will not receive it in the part of this message that sounds like a normal ending. You will receive it after the ending has already passed. Hold tightly onto that faithful promise today. My child, what I have told you so far is true, but it is not the whole of it. There is a second half to this message that I have been holding back until you were far enough in to carry it safely. You are far enough in now. Stay with me, just a little longer. I will put the rest of it perfectly into your hands right now. Here is the plain truth, with absolutely nothing wrapped around it. You have been carrying a responsibility that was never assigned to you, and because it was never yours to carry, you could never carry it perfectly. You concluded that your mind was permanently failing. Your mind was not failing at all. The heavy assignment was completely wrong. That is all it has ever been. And here is what has to change today. Not harder effort, not more discipline, not waking up an hour earlier to force your exhausted body to work. The terrible disconnection in your brain must be fully reversed. The logical part of your mind and the peaceful part of your mind must be brought back together so they can function as one beautiful system again. You cannot fix a fractured machine by shouting at it to run faster. I am not saying this to everyone listening today. I am saying it to the weary warrior who sits in the cold car for 5 minutes before walking into the house. I am speaking directly to the one who takes on the emotional crisis of every family member and quietly breaks under the immense pressure. That is exactly who this is for. That is who I have been speaking to since the very first word. You have carried it alone for years, my beloved child. You do not have to carry it alone tomorrow. Look up at me right now. Now open your empty hands and receive. I did not only place wisdom in the ancient scriptures, I also placed it in the careful hands of the faithful ones who study the human body I formed. I gave deep wisdom to a brilliant neurologist named Dr. Daniel Barone. He was working late in his busy office in New York, while everyone else had already gone home to sleep. I led him to something I had carefully placed in the human brain long before he ever found it. I allowed him to see a very specific way to bring the two separated halves of your mind back into one whole piece without forcing you to struggle. He calls this profound discovery neural sync technology, and I will explain it to you plainly, because that is the only way worth telling it. It works through a powerful process called whole brain activation. It is not a trick. It is not a strange psychological hack. It is the quiet return of a sharp mind that was never supposed to have left you in the first place. This is the exact mental reconnection I have been describing to you since the beginning of this hour. I allowed Dr. Roger Sperry to uncover this truth decades ago, and the world gave him a major prize for it. I simply call it a piece of the truth I chose to release for you today. Now hear why I am placing this in front of you and not everyone else. There is a kind of person who does not need this at all. That person has never sat at the end of a long day and felt their own thoughts go completely soft. That person exists, but that person is not you. You are the one who has been holding the whole house together with a mind that stopped being given back to you in the morning. You read a page 3 times and still walk away with nothing. You have been calling that a failure for longer than you have admitted to anyone. So when I tell you that this restores your sharp focus and reconnects your divided mind, I am not just reading you a list of benefits. I am describing the exact place where your life has been leaking. I am telling you it can finally be closed. This was set aside for the weary warrior. It is for you. It is called the Genius Switch. It is an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. That is the whole of it. There is nothing to swallow. There is nothing to join. There is nothing you have to become before you are allowed to begin. Those who worked beside Dr. Barone told him this was worth $500. Some pay $300 an hour for something similar in person. A machine for the home costs $7,000. I did not lead him to price it at $500 or $200. I led him to release it at $49. And because you have stayed with me this far, I am making a way for you to receive it today for $39, not as a sale, as a small exchange to prove your willingness. With it come 4 things I have gathered for you. You get a guided visualization for your future, a guide for smart grocery shopping, a century-old book on stewardship, and a 5 habits infographic. 2 warnings before you move, my child. The enemy delights in cheap imitations. If you search for this on YouTube or Spotify, you will find tracks wearing its name with none of what was built inside them. They are just noise, dressed up for clicks. What I am leading you to is only found through the official page his team keeps directly. Do not let a counterfeit stand between you and what is real. And for the second thing, you carry absolutely no risk in this. Listen 8 minutes a day. Listen 80 times. If it does not restore what I said it would, every cent returns to you. You owe no one a reason. Take this as a small step of obedience today, not a purchase. The provision is waiting for you in the comments below. 8 minutes, headphones, eyes closed. That is all I am asking of you right now. Do not put this down and tell yourself you will return to it tonight. You already know what tonight does with the things you set aside for it. Go and look. Hear this before you go. There is a terrible cost to another year of the arrangement you have been living inside. It is not a cost anyone will invoice you for. It is paid quietly in the things you stop expecting. Every day your mind stays disconnected is a day the heavy fog remains. I am not warning you about an enemy tonight. I am warning you about a deeply ingrained habit. I want you to walk in what I have already restored, not just know that it exists. Do not wait for the fog to steal another precious memory from your life. Stop paying the high price of a delay you never had to accept. Let us look honestly at the actual price of doing nothing. You think that waiting costs you absolutely nothing at all. You tell yourself you can handle one more year of the heavy fog, but the terrible cost is paid quietly in the background of your life, and it is collected in the precious conversations you completely miss because your mind is trapped elsewhere. You miss the joy of the present moment. You miss the simple beauty of a quiet morning. You trade your peace for a false sense of control. You sit at the dinner table with the people you love. They are speaking directly to you right now, but you cannot give them your true presence. You are physically there, but your tired spirit is wandering in the dark trying to solve problems that do not even exist yet. That is the terrible tax the noise collects from you every single day. I do not want you to pay that unfair tax for another decade. You have already paid enough. Your family deserves the fully present version of you, and you absolutely deserve to experience your own life. What comes next is going to sound exactly like the end. The voice will slow down. The words will get much shorter. That is not the end of this message, my beloved child, but rather it is the quiet doorway to the final room where the greatest truth lives. Do not set your phone down yet. The last thing I kept is still firmly in my hands. I have guarded it for you since the beginning of this hour, and it is handed over on the other side of this moment. Stay with me in this peaceful space. I am not asking you for anything else today. I am not going to ask you for anything at all. I am simply telling you that the final sentence I promised you earlier is still fully owed to you. I do not leave a holy debt like that unpaid. It comes right after the quiet part, so breathe deeply and stay. Let the loud demands of the world fade away completely. You do not need to rush back to the battlefield. The teaching is completely finished now. What is left is just between the two of us. Let all the heavy words rest. I want to speak to you exactly the way a loving father speaks to his weary child at the end of a very long day. I am going to lower my voice for this last part. This last part is not an instruction you have to follow. It is a pure blessing you only need to receive. You have worked so incredibly hard for so long. Put the heavy notebook down. You do not need to study this. You only need to let it wash over your tired soul. The long war in your mind is finally over, and the beautiful peace you have been begging for is already flooding into the room. I saw every silent tear. Not one was wasted. You are entirely safe here in this quiet place. We are going to firmly close the door on the demanding world outside. They cannot reach you here. You came into this hour carrying a massive weight. You had stopped noticing you were even carrying it. You are not walking out with it today. What you are walking out with instead is much smaller and infinitely better, because you finally know that your mind is being completely restored. You are walking out with absolute certainty. The long winter is breaking. The fog is lifting right now. You are finally coming back to yourself, my beloved child. We have finally reached the end of the long road today. The heavy teaching is completely finished, and I just want to hold you in this quiet space for a few more moments. You have fought so many silent battles. You have carried the weight of your entire family without ever complaining once. I see the deep scars on your weary shoulders. You can safely put the heavy armor down right now. Nobody is going to attack you in this room. You are completely protected. The demanding world outside cannot reach you while you are resting here with me. You have earned this profound peace, and I want you to soak in it for as long as you need. Earlier, I promised to give you the last thing I kept. I told you it would arrive right after the ending. Here is the final truth. The sharp mind you thought you lost forever was never actually destroyed. It was only sleeping peacefully under the thick fog. And the person you are about to become will not be a frightening stranger at all. She will be the exact same brilliant soul I created at the very beginning of your life. You are simply returning to your own true home. Remember that the genius switch is not a strange magic trick. It is certainly not a lazy shortcut around me. It is simply 8 minutes that helps rejoin what I already built inside you as one beautiful piece. If you have ever wondered whether the bright mind you had as a child is still in there, this is exactly how you come back to it. You do not have to struggle in the dark anymore. The broken pieces are already finding their way back together. The static noise is fading. I am moving you out of a stretched and exhausted mind. I am bringing you into a fully reconnected spirit. You will no longer have to force yourself to remember simple things. You will no longer apologize for a mental fog that was never your fault. Your natural sharpness will flow easily again, and you will finally trust your own decisions. The cycle of intense burnout and deep confusion ends exactly here, in this quiet moment. A family that has repeated the same exhausted pattern for 100 years begins to heal through you, and this profound healing will not stop with you today. It will completely change the children and the generations that faithfully follow you. I have said everything I came to say today. What happens next is not mine to do. Put your hand on these words and make them your own. Do not walk away without leaving your mark on this hour. A truth that stays hidden inside your head can still be argued with tomorrow morning. You must write it down so you will read it back one day and recognize your own restored voice. Right now, you are someone who just heard this message. In 30 seconds, you can be someone who actually said it. Go to the comments and type this final declaration right now. I say yes with my life. Write it down and let it anchor your soul. The long winter of your confusion is permanently over. Now go. Walk out of this room as someone who is finally whole. I have always been with you.